When I was younger, I suffered from asthma, and so I didn't really get to go out and do a lot of the things outside that most kids got to do, and that kind of really bummed me out. And I, always thought about, well, maybe it was just hereditary, but later in life found out that it was actually caused by factors of where I lived and the air that I was breathing. So climate justice is basically what it says, justice. We want everybody to be able to live in a just and healthy world, no matter your economic status. We're seeing places where you're seeing these marginalized communities living next to power plants, industrial buildings, coal mines, and the reason is because that's where they're building affordable housing, and that's where they're building apartments to rent. And so there's no trees, there's no, they're living inside of these bubbles where they're breathing in this horrible air. You're seeing numbers of health issues go up within BIPOC communities because of asthma and different, even with COVID, there were lots of disparities between marginalized communities and then those affluent communities.
When I think about climate justice, I think about the image from the climate justice mural of this strong brown fist holding a braided ribbon. And one of the ribbons represents diversity by showing different skin tones. Another shows the traditional pride flag, and another shows the colors of the trans flag. And I love this image because it shows how, we need leadership from Black and brown people, and we need to have all of these different elements of our lives, whether it's racial diversity or gender diversity, coming together and working on this together. It needs to be a cross-sectional leadership and movement in order to actually get to a place where we have climate justice. I think climate justice incorporates racial justice. It incorporates gender justice. And so when I think about climate justice, I think about how it's not just about global warming and getting our carbon dioxide put away. It's about creating an entire cultural revolution where we experience life in a different way, where these different people who are often underserved in our communities are at the forefront of showing us how to make these changes. And they are already doing that, right? It's not like this isn't happening already, but for me, it's finding those people and following their lead.
We all live on Earth together, and we all need to work together. No matter who we are, where we live, everybody should be able to go to their faucet or to a stream and be able to drink water. Everybody should be able to go outside and just breathe the air without a mask. So climate justice, I think, is very important because we're really seeing the effects on people's health and people's livelihoods because of climate change.
When I think of climate justice, for me the starting point is the project of Europeans in the Americas. And that started 500 years ago, and it's been a bloodbath. That started with stealing and killing, and then manipulating the people here, and then lying about it. That's basically been the European project in the Americas. In the process then of after having kind of cleared and taken over the land to a point of building an empire. So then in that process, that whole model has been a program incompatible with the operating system of the Earth. And so now climate change is learning the error of the ways of trying to use this program that doesn't work with the operating system. The climate justice piece of it is that the people least responsible for climate change are paying the heaviest price and will continue to pay the heaviest price all through this century. And so really, the folks that created the mess, and the United States is the leader in that category, right? The United States has put the most carbon dioxide into the atmosphere historically. The United States should foot the bill for most climate change mitigation and reparations and adaptation.
I also fight for climate justice because it feels like it's part of my duty and responsibility as the descendant of colonizers. Climate change affects most those who are most vulnerable. It's the result of generations of colonial violence and unchecked capitalism. Without the systems of domination that we see in every other aspect of our social life here in the so-called United States, we would not have the climate crisis. We would not have been able to ignore the wisdom of the earth and indigenous peoples long enough to let it get to this point. So if we don't confront those systems deeply at the root, there is no way forward. So I do this work because I feel I have a responsibility to do so in order to heal my own lineage, to heal the lineages to come, to heal society, our earth. This work is about wholeness, it's about repair, it's about learning right relations with each other and with the earth. And we have to do it. We will not survive any other way. I have to.
And it's not places that normally you would think of as being developing. It's people that are marginalized. They're not in that developing world, are being affected the most by what the developing countries did 30, 50, 70 years ago. So when it comes to climate justice, the people that didn't cause it are being affected the most. You get into heat waves, you get the wildfires happening all over the place. Pakistan just had major flooding. I mean, I think it's 2/3 of their country is underwater, which is just horrible. And again, it comes back to a lot of people that didn't cause these problems. You know, it's been happening over quite a long time.
In order to deal with climate change in our community, we're going to have to make some big changes. I would say transformative changes. And as long as we're making those changes, why don't we make them in a way that promotes justice, reduces, if not eliminates, inequality in our community? But I really think it's closely connected to the work of racial and economic justice and equity, so that we can make this a community-wide sort of transformational effort. So we're not just transforming, focused on energy or focused on environmental issues, but we're transforming the entire community. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity. And the fact that we have to do this from a climate perspective in a limited amount of time, I think is another great opportunity to achieve some of the other really important things that we have to achieve in our community in that same time frame, so that we can do it all together.
You think globally, act locally, and I think that really hits true to home with TCAT. We do a lot of stuff in the community and a lot of stuff locally around climate change. One person can't do everything, but everybody can do one thing. And so that's kind of what I would love to see more community members get involved with climate change and climate justice.